England's Ashes campaign. Well, with us now to discuss the success yesterday, the former England cricketer Bob Willis, and joining us from Sydney, Fox Sports News correspondent Dan Ginnane. Morning to both of you. And I just want to make it absolutely clear that as the Scotsman in the studio, I will be remaining studiously impartial in all of this. But I suppose we should be generous hosts and turn to Australia and ask first and foremost, how do you feel the morning after that one?
Well, hello, Neil. Hello, Sally. Hello, Bob. The joy in your voices, frankly, this morning is sickening. But I think even us Australians realise, or we Australians realise that what happened yesterday was pretty remarkable. There were three things that we're dissecting down here. One is just a performance for the ages. You can't deny that. I mean, even the back pages here in Australia, this is the Sydney Daily Telegraph, and it's almost celebratory for Ben Stokes. There are other aspects, the umpiring, and listen, the umpiring has been, I'm sure as Bob can attest, it's been disgraceful the whole series for both teams. So it shouldn't be a shock that there was an umpiring error near the end of this test. And also, our team choked. Our team lost their way in the last hour, and it was the unlosable test match. And I think all those emotions are mixed together. It's not simply we were robbed, or not simply Ben Stokes won this on his own, although he did a pretty good job. Australia helped in their own demise, but it's total bewilderment because the television ratings have been through the roof over the last couple of nights, bigger than what they normally are, because we were expecting Australia to win the Ashes. And don't forget, we have not done it on English soil since 2001. So to have that taken away, it's been a morning. It's a Monday morning here, or a Monday afternoon here, and Mondays are pretty miserable. Well, they don't get much more miserable than they have been today.
Dan, thank goodness. I thought for a second I was going to have to say we've got a magnanimous Australian for once. But actually, we have been hearing from your Prime Minister. Let's have a listen to him as well.
We're going to congratulate you on the Ashes.
No, we're not. We're not.
Two to go.
We're not taking anything for granted.
Two to go.
It was a hell of a meeting.
It was a great match. It was a great match.
Oh, Boris is smiling and Bob is smiling, and naturally, Bob, there were comparisons yesterday to 1981, the same ground, hailed as both them's Ashes. Not that we forget that you took 8 wickets in that 4th innings, but how would you assess the comparisons between Serene, a great teammate of yours, and Ben Stokes?
Ben Stokes' innings has eclipsed Ian's. You have to remember that Ben had the scoreboard pressure. He saw that total coming down bit by bit, and then very much faster as he peppered the boundaries and cleared the boundaries with those 6s. So I think it was a better innings than Ian's for that reason, and it was just astounding, the cool nature when he was left with England's number 11 to get them over the line. You have to remember that his first 60 deliveries, he scored 2 runs. But he didn't panic. He played sensibly with Joe Root. He played very well with Johnny Bairstow. Then the collapse of wickets, and it was all down to him at the end. So I think it goes down as the greatest run chase innings by any England individual.
I mean, I saw Dan nodding along in the background there. I just wanted, how do you come back from this, Dan? How do Australia kind of recover from the disappointment, particularly given, I mean, you hold it, you could well still win the next 2.
Well, we only have to win 1, remember, because Australia are the holders. They won the last series out here. But my goodness, the momentum change in this series, the fact that we had James Anderson going out in the first test, huge advantage to Australia. Australia survived the second when we were on the verge of being beaten after that wonderful performance by Jofra Archer. And you just can't lose a test match when you bowl the opposition out for 67. It just cannot be done. So it would take incredible mental strength. Now, this team has shown a lot of mental strength. Don't forget all the dramas from South Africa 15, 16 months ago. Mere defeats on the cricket field don't compare to that. So they've been through a lot worse than this. But my word, to lift themselves off the canvas is going to take some Herculean effort. The saving grace is that we're not back-to-back with the test matches. There's a little bit of a gap so they can compose themselves before the next test on September 4 The fact that Australia only has to win one is a huge advantage still, but Steve Smith will come back. That's a plus. So, of course, all is not lost, but I'll tell you what we're talking about down here. This is so similar to 2005 when Australia, much better team, looked like they were cannoning away to a victory. Glenn McGrath steps on a ball. England wins by 2 runs at Edgbaston, and that changes the series. It feels scarily, eerily similar to what was a remarkable series. And the silver lining, if Australia wins this morning our time, the series is over. Now we are shaped for what could be an all-time great series because 1-1 with 2 to play, anything could happen.
I don't know, Rob. Maybe it's time to reach for a bit of sandpaper. What do you think? Sorry.
Couldn't possibly come. Steve Smith wasn't playing, so I mean, we'll continue and move on. But you've been such a nice host until then. Bob, I do hate to be the purveyor of doom, but it is just 3 days ago that England were bowled out for 67. And it's not the first time that's happened over the past 12, 18 months or so. What you would say, if that happens again, they can kiss it goodbye, can't they? They have to bat like they batted in that second innings, not how they batted in the first innings.
Too right, yes. England have 2 world-class batsmen. Ben Stokes, we saw him perform yesterday, and Joe Root, who is the England skipper. But the rest of these guys have got to step up now. They've had their problems against the short ball. We've seen a lot of people hit on the head this series. Players like Joe Denley have got to come to terms with that. So too Rory Burns. I think the experiment with Jason Roy should be terminated. Let him go
Drop
back.
him or move him down the order?
No, I would leave him out and replace him with his teammate Ollie Pope. And we wait with bated breath to see if James Anderson will be fit to take his place on his home ground on September the 4th. Australia will bounce back strongly. Steve Smith, huge thorn in England's side, and also they must surely pick Mitchell Starc, not only for his brilliant bowling, but for the rough that he'll create for Nathan Lyon. England have played Lyon very well in the last 2 Test matches after succumbing at Edgbaston in the first Test match. So Lyon will need the help of those footmarks which Mitchell Starc can provide. So I think Australia should make that change. I think we're in for 2 fantastic matches at Old Trafford and the Oval, but England have got to score runs on a more regular basis if they want to regain the urn.
And Dan, before we let you go, we can't talk about this today, and of course Ben Stokes has got all the headlines, but we've got to have a mention for Jack Leach. What did you make of his performance over there?
You're just rubbing it in now, aren't you? He was great. There were. I love the close-up shots of. It looked like he was visibly shaking, and you can understand that. But our bowlers weren't good enough. They didn't bowl well in the last hour. They helped Leach a little. They didn't bowl full enough. They didn't bowl short enough. And that's the thing we're discussing here. That as great as England were, as magnificent as Ben Stokes was, I mean, that's huge praise from Bob to say it surpasses Surrey and Botham, that innings. Australia helped in the demise. So we'll look back at the way we bowled the Leach, the way we allowed Ben Stokes to take singles on the 5th ball of overs. I mean, some of the captaincy was astonishingly poor. So there's a lot here for us to sink our teeth into. But I just hope, Neil and Sally, when it's 2-1 after Old Trafford and Australia wins, you invite me back so I can have my right of reply.
No chance.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I guarantee it. As the Scotsman in the room, I 100% guarantee it. Dan Ginnane from Fox Sports Australia, thank you so much. Fox Sports News, thank you so much for being such a good sport.
Thank
Bob
you.
Willis, thank you so
My
much
pleasure.
for turning up and rubbing
My
it
pleasure.
in as well.
Such fun.
Stick with us after the break.